Let me describe someone you might know. They are one of the smartest people in the room, full of ideas, full of potential. They talk about their goals with a passion that makes you believe in them even when they have not started yet. They have plans, big ones, the kind that could genuinely change their life if they ever got moving. But here's the thing, you have been hearing about those same plans for 2 years, 3 years, maybe five, and nothing has moved. The dream is still a dream. The plan is still a plan. The potential is still sitting in a drawer somewhere, waiting for the right moment that never seems to arrive. Maybe you know someone like this. Maybe you love someone like this. Or maybe, and I say this with complete compassion, maybe you are someone like this. If that landed, do not close the video. Stay with me. Because what I am about to share is not about shaming anyone. It is about identifying the specific patterns that keep brilliant, capable, deserving people permanently on the edge of the life they want without ever stepping fully into it. There are 7 traits, and the more of them you recognize in yourself, the more important it is that you hear everything I'm about to say. Trait 1. They are in love with the idea, but afraid of the process. The first trait is the most common and the most misunderstood. People who dream big but stay stuck are almost always in love with the destination. The vision board, the finished product, the version of their life where everything has worked out. They can describe it in vivid detail. They feel genuine excitement when they think about it. But the moment the conversation shifts from the dream to the daily work required to get there, something changes. The excitement fades. The energy drops. Suddenly, there are complications, uncertainties, reasons why now is not quite the right time. This is not laziness. It is something more specific, a psychological attachment to the idea of success without a corresponding tolerance for the discomfort of the process. The process is unglamorous. It is repetitive. It involves failure and embarrassment and slow progress and days where nothing seems to be working. The destination is beautiful. The road is hard. And people who stay stuck have unconsciously decided often, without realizing it, that they would rather live in the beauty of the dream than risk the ugliness of the pursuit. The fix is not motivation. Motivation is temporary. The fix is falling in love with the process itself, finding meaning not just in where you are going, but in who you are becoming on the way there. Trait 2. They wait for perfect conditions. The second trait is one of the most sophisticated traps the mind has ever constructed. It goes like this. I will start when I have more money. I will launch when I have more time. I will go for it when the kids are older, when the economy stabilizes, when I feel more ready, when I have more experience, when I have done more research, when everything is in place. This sounds reasonable. This sounds like wisdom. This sounds like patience. It is not. It is fear, dressed in the language of logic. Perfect conditions do not exist. They have never existed. Every person who has ever built something meaningful built it in imperfect conditions, with incomplete information and inadequate resources. The difference between people who start and people who stay stuck is not access to perfect conditions. It is the willingness to begin before you are ready and figure out the rest on the way. Waiting for readiness is itself a choice. It is the choice to let time pass while your dream stays exactly where it is. A year from now, you will wish you had started today, and the conditions a year from now will not be perfect either. Start in the mess. Start with what you have. Start before you feel ready. Because ready is a feeling that follows action, it almost never precedes it. Trait 3, they confuse planning with progress. The third trait will make some people uncomfortable because it hides behind the appearance of productivity. People who stay stuck are often the most organized people in the room. They have notebooks full of plans, color-coded spreadsheets, detailed timelines, business models written out in full, research folders, Vision boards updated quarterly. They look like they are working. They feel like they are working. And in their minds, planning is progress. It is not. Planning is preparation. Progress is movement. And there is a critical difference between the two. At some point, and this point comes much earlier than most people are comfortable with, you have to stop preparing and start doing. You have to close the notebook and open the door. You have to take the first imperfect, underprepared, slightly terrifying step into actual reality. Because here's the brutal truth about planning. A plan that is never executed is just a detailed description of a life you did not live. The world does not reward the best plans. It rewards the people who act on imperfect ones. If you have been planning the same thing for more than 6 months, the plan is not the problem. The fear is the problem. And no amount of additional planning will solve a fear problem. Trait 4. They are addicted to consuming and allergic to creating. The fourth trait is one of the most relevant things I can talk about in the world we live in right now. We live in the golden age of information, podcasts, YouTube videos, online courses, books, seminars, masterclasses. There's never been more access to knowledge about how to build, grow, heal, and succeed. And people who stay stuck consume all of it. They listen to every podcast about entrepreneurship, but have not started their business. They watch every video about fitness, but have not changed their habits. They have taken 3 online courses about the thing they want to do, but have not done the thing yet. Consumption feels productive. It feels like progress. You are learning, after all. You are growing. You are getting closer. But there is a point at which consuming more information becomes a way of avoiding the vulnerability of creating something. Creating is exposed. What you make can be rejected. It can be criticized. It can fail publicly. Consuming is safe. You can learn in private, never be judged, and never have to find out whether you actually have what it takes. The shift that changes everything is the shift from being a student of your dream to being a practitioner of it, from consuming what others have built to building something of your own. You already know enough to start. What you are waiting for is not more information. It is the courage to act on what you already know. Trait 5. They let other people's opinions set the ceiling. The fifth trait is one that operates so quietly, most people never identify it. People who dream big but stay stuck are often deeply, almost invisibly, controlled by what the people around them think. Not strangers, not critics online. The people at the dinner table. The family member whose approval has always mattered. The friend whose reaction they have been rehearsing in their head for years. The community they grew up in, with its unspoken rules about who gets to want more and who is getting too big for their station. These voices do not always speak out loud. Sometimes they live entirely inside the dreamer's own head, installed there over years of subtle messages about what is realistic, what is appropriate, what people like us do and do not do. And so the dream never gets fully pursued, not because the dreamer lacks ability, but because somewhere inside them, there is a permission they have been waiting for. That may never come. Here's the truth. Nobody who ever built something extraordinary waited for their environment to give them permission. They built it anyway, often in spite of their environment, sometimes in direct contradiction of everything the people around them believed was possible. You do not need permission to pursue the life you want. Not from your parents. Not from your community. Not from the people who decided a long time ago what your limits were. The only permission that matters is the one you give yourself. Trait 6. They quit in the gap. The sixth trait is one that author Ira Glass described better than almost anyone ever has. He called it the gap. Here's what the gap is. When you are new at something, you have taste before you have skill. You can recognize good work. You know what excellent looks like. You have been consuming enough to understand the standard. But when you actually start creating, your early work does not match that standard. There is a gap between what you can see and what you can currently produce. This gap is completely normal. Every person who has ever become excellent at anything went through this gap. It is not a sign of lack of talent. It is simply the early stage of any skill where your vision exceeds your current execution. But people who stay stuck hit this gap and interpret it as evidence that they do not have what it takes. They write the first chapter and it does not sound like the books they love, so they stop writing. They launch the first version of the product and it is not as polished as the successful brands they admire, so they shut it down. They post the first piece of content and it does not perform the way they hoped, so they quit before they develop the skill to do it well. The gap is not a stop sign, it is a bridge. The only way to close it is to keep producing to make the imperfect thing again and again and again until the skill catches up to the vision. The people who get to the other side of the gap are not more talented than the ones who quit in the middle of it. They simply refuse to let early imperfection be the last word. Trait 7. They treat self-doubt as a stop sign instead of a signal. The seventh and final trait is the one that quietly underlies all the others. Every person who dreams big experiences self-doubt, without exception. There's not a single person who has built something meaningful who did not hear the voice that said, "Who do you think you are? This will never work. You are not the kind of person who does this kind of thing." The difference between people who stay stuck and people who break through is not the absence of that voice. It is what they do when they hear it. People who stay stuck treat self-doubt as a stop sign, as an authority, as a voice that has access to a truth they do not. And so when it speaks, they slow down, they second guess, they retreat. People who build treat self-doubt as a signal specifically, as a signal that they are about to do something that matters, that they are at the edge of their comfort zone, that growth is close. They feel the doubt and move anyway, not because they are not afraid, but because they have learned that fear and readiness often feel identical from the inside, and the only way to know which one it is to take the step and find out. Self-doubt is not your enemy. It is your companion on the road to anything worth doing. The goal is not to silence it. The goal is to stop letting it drive. Let me bring all of this together. 7 traits. In love with the idea, but afraid of the process. Waiting for perfect conditions. Confusing planning with progress. Consuming instead of creating. Letting other people's opinions set the ceiling. Quitting in the gap, and treating self-doubt as a stop sign instead of a signal. If you recognized yourself in one of these, that is awareness. And awareness is the beginning of change. If you recognize yourself in several of them, that is not a verdict on your potential. It is a map. It is showing you exactly where the work needs to happen. Because here's the thing about people who dream big and stay stuck. They are not stuck because they lack ability. They are not stuck because the dream is too big, or the odds are too long, or the timing is too difficult. They are stuck because of patterns, internal patterns, patterns of thought and behavior that were often formed long before the dream was even born. And patterns can be broken, not easily, not overnight, but deliberately. One decision at a time, one honest self-examination at a time, one imperfect, courageous step at a time. The dream you have been carrying is not there by accident. It is there because some part of you knows what you are capable of, even when every other part of you is afraid to find out. Listen to that part. Do the thing badly before you can do it well. Start before you are ready. Build in the gap. Move through the doubt. Stop waiting for the room to give you permission to take up the space you were always meant to occupy. The stuck version of you has had enough time. It is time for the other version to have a turn. If this video spoke to something real in you, share it with someone who needs this message today. And if you are new here, subscribe and turn on the bell. We talk about the real reasons people stay stuck and the real strategies that set them free. See you next Tomorrow.